Imagine a place where you can unwind and relax. IKEA can help you turn your bedroom into a calm oasis. From comfy mattresses to the perfect lights, we've got everything to create your dream bedroom so you can sleep like a baby. And the best part? All at incredible prices. Head to IKEA and grab everything you need. Get ready to rest, dream, and wake up feeling refreshed. Shop today at your local store or at ikea-usa.com/sleep-es and get it delivered straight to your door with our convenient delivery services.
People love to use buzzwords, right? And I think right now, the buzziest word of them all is setting boundaries. People are so obsessed with setting
I have another
boundaries.
one. Protecting your peace.
Protecting your peace.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Crystal Vega.
Hi, I'm Amanda Booz, and this is Elevators Podcast, where we talk about the peaks and valleys of life's journey, from relationships, friendships, entrepreneurship, all the ships, and we'll even give you a little taste of social media, sizzling hot topics, all from the lens of modern womanhood. You guys have watched the show
know the spiel
so many times.
They gonna be all right.
You probably know the line better than me.
Apparently they do.
Literally. Hey, girl.
How are you?
I'm good. I feel like I've seen you, of course. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I haven't seen you, but you've been traveling a lot. I'm getting ready for some travels.
Yes,
so we're
girl.
just all over the place and still finding time to come and elevate.
Hello. I know that's right.
Bring it
Finding
back.
time to come serve our community of listeners.
And also serve us. You know, a lot of the times when we have our shows and our episodes and we think of topics, of course, we want it to be topics that inspire and uplift you, but they fuel and uplift me. Like,
Absolutely.
they literally give me every like, I walk away from our show sometimes feeling like, I can take on the day. Like, I needed it. And I'm going to tell you something else. Sometimes it's right on time. It's
All
so
the time.
timely.
All the time.
Girl.
All the time. It be therapy session. I said this. It's like therapy for me. It's a moment to
is.
sit down, talk, and really release everything that has been going on in my life. And girl, I have been traveling so much.
You have. And you do it like, you don't travel like regular people. Like, you're in and out. Like, you travel, you go to LA for 24 hours. And I think that's insane.
But I have to, like, imagine, think about how much I've traveled thus far. Imagine if I added extra days to that travel. I might as well not live in Miami.
You're like, I need to come back home.
I'm trying to go back home.
I'm coming back home.
And most of the places I've been visiting are cold, honey. I'm trying to come back home.
Yeah, you're like, by the way, this is the winter attire here in Miami.
Yes,
like,
this is the
how
winter attire.
This is how we dress in the winter. Honestly, even less than this, but.
No, for real. But because I've been traveling so much, girl, I feel like I have mental fog trying to
Really?
process everything that's going on. But the spring is upon us.
Spring is here.
And I think it's time for spring cleaning our mentality.
Ooh, I love that. I love a good spring cleaning. I love a good reason to just organize. And organize your space is one thing, but organizing your life, doing a whole, you know what I'm saying, 360, turn it up a notch, all upside down from the floor to the top to the bottom to the side. Anything you need to do to just get that life in order, I'm all about it.
No, for
Reinventing
real.
yourself every day is a thing.
Closing extra tabs in your brain that have been sitting there, reorganizing the files in your head to like really prioritize things. For me, like after I do spring cleaning in my house, I do like a mental spring cleaning. And I think people need help with that. Like, it is easier said than done, very much so. But I think, maybe you can speak to this, but I think a big part of spring cleaning your mentality is getting rid of overthinking.
Tell me about it. This is a good one.
Well, you tell me about it,
This
overthinker.
I know, this is a good one. I am a recovering overthinker, and I am not ashamed. I used to be ashamed to say these things because I'll be honest, like, I feel like, especially with what we do sometimes, and just, I think about it, like, I think who I am and kind of how I was brought up, I think sometimes unconsciously and very unhealthily, perfectionism is something that's embedded into us, right? as a person who's grown up in Caribbean households, I feel like your parents instilled in you to always be the best and always do this. You can't have anything tarnish your name. You can't, do this. And it's not even probably just a Caribbean thing. It's just in general. And I feel like as women of color, as a Black woman, you just always have to be the best in everything that you do. That sometimes it causes overthinking, and sometimes it causes you to just like not be vulnerable in some elements because you're just like, I don't want to be looked at in this light. So I think a really big part of spring cleaning is overthinking. And for me, I think it's allowed me to be more myself authentically by not overthinking and just not really caring what people think, because you can literally sit there and think about the same thing over and over and over again. And one, it robs you of your joy. Two, it like diminishes any confidence that you have in yourself, like to make decisions, to just to go through life. Like you can literally sit there and ponder something all day and then lose track of time. And 6 to 8 hours later, you didn't get anything done on your to-do list because you're in your mind about something that you can't control. And 3, that's the other thing. I am not doing or being a part of anything or just spending my time focusing on things I can't control. If it's beyond my control, I leave it up to God and I walk away from it.
Well, I was just about to ask you, as a recovering overthinker.
It sounds so crazy to say as a recovering overthinker.
No, but it's true.
It's true, it is.
And I think it's a mental exercise to get yourself out of that habit of overthinking things. And kind of like we talk about with self-confidence and like everything else that we discuss on the show, everything is a mental exercise. It's not going to happen overnight. But the best way, in my personal advice, to get rid of overthinking is to constantly catch yourself when you're doing it. But also, I feel like finding the root to why you're overthinking. So let's take a step back here, Amanda, and take me to the days where you used to overthink, because I'm not an overthinker. So this is very
Which I would love to hear your
me.
perspective on that too. Like, what would you say is the reason that you don't overthink?
Because quite frankly, I don't give a damn. I don't care. I just don't be caring enough about.
So you don't feel like there's any moment in life that you were like, dang, like that bothered me. Whether it's like an email that you sent too quickly, or whether it's like somebody said something and you thought, like, you had no, like Crystal, you've had no moment where you overthought anything.
No, I wouldn't say. I'd be lying if I said in life there was nothing I've never overthought.
Okay,
right? But like,
okay.
I'm not a chronic overthinker.
I got you.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't overthink everything. And to me, it just takes so much effort to overthink, especially when it comes to things that we shouldn't be spinning our wheels about. Like, I have friends who will overthink about like an Instagram post, and I'm like, post it. Because like, granted, some things do require like mental capacity, but for me, I'm like, I be so busy these days. It really has to be important for it to take up mental capacity in my brain. So even just separate from like just these days in general, I just don't provide the mental space in my brain to overthink things that don't really matter. And to, quite frankly, if it's something that I'm not going to think about next year or the year after, I'm not thinking about it too much today. Because you ever like get mad at something and then a couple years later you were like, why was I mad at that?
Why did it even bother me?
Why did it even bother me? You don't remember, because guess what? It was never that important in the first place.
That's true.
You get what I'm saying?
I like that.
The only things that I actually really overthink are like conflicts where I feel like, damn, maybe I could have did better in this place. You know, like, if it's something like that, then I'll overthink it. I'll go through the scenarios in my head, and I'm like, okay, but like, what if I played it out like this? What if I played it out like that? Like, those situations, I will overthink slightly, but I'm also not in those situations very often.
Yeah.
So for long and short, but like, because of that, I'm not a chronic overthinker. It'll happen here and there, but like, generally, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, my advice is, if you're not going to think about it in the next year or two, then stop overthinking it today, because a lot of us, when you're overthinking, I think that it's in search of perfection. And the reality is, progress over perfection is more important. Nothing is going to be perfect. Like, even when you're launching something as small as a website, it is never going to be perfect. It's going to be a work in progress, because what you like this year is going to be different next year and the year after that, and so on and so forth.
And it gives you opportunity to revamp, to come back harder, to come back better than you did before. And I totally agree with that. And I think the things that I used to overthink before, it's not trivial things too. Sometimes it's like really things that are affecting you emotionally, whether it's like family, relationship, career, like it's things that really matter to you that you just think in that sense. But I agree with you. I'm like, gone are the days that I'm losing sleep or like
So what
not
did you
thinking about
used
stuff.
to lose? That's another thing too. Like, I think it's an ego thing for me because I'm like, not somebody or something making me lose sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's very egotistic of me. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna admit that. Like, that's very, yeah, I guess that's the best way to say it, like, very egotistic of me because I have
You're like, nothing's gonna have that much power over me.
I've mentally trained myself over the years to say, like, XYZ does not deserve your sleep. And if something is making you lose sleep, get rid of it. Gone with the wind, honey.
Let it go.
Gone with
Let
the
it
wind.
go.
But tell me, okay, so what in the past has made you overthink?
Oof,
We gonna work through a little therapy session here.
So much, even though we don't care about these things anymore. But things that would make me overthink might be like, let's say like an argument.
Give an example.
Like an argument I may have gotten into with like a best friend or like a guy friend or a boyfriend or like even my parents or family. Even an overthinking thing could be also something that was said negatively. Because here's my other thing is when things are said in like a negative light, whether it is about you or you hear it from someone else, even though those things aren't true, sometimes you do internalize that stuff. And you like are forced to like think like, why would a person think this or why does a person like think that when you know it's not the actual reality of it?
Why does things people say, why do you internalize things?
No.
Why have you? Sorry.
No, I'm saying that these are types of things that you could spend your time overthinking. You're saying what are things that I used to overthink about?
Yeah.
Right? And then I think to your point too, like work-wise, right? Like if there was like an opportunity I had and I wanted to like ask something or say something or do something in that moment that I forgot, I might beat myself about it in the moment. It may not be something that I'm like weeks later, like contemplating, but it may be in the moment like, oh, I wish I would have said this word. Somebody else might take it as, all right, I didn't say it, cool, it's done, right? But for me, in my mind, I'm like, how can I be better? And I think that's where the root of overthinking comes from.
In search of perfection?
Yeah, but you know, we're not perfect. We're not perfect. No, and we're never going to be perfect.
Ever. But to that point, I think that when you are overthinking, you really, and when I say you, not you, I'm talking about our viewers, our listeners, but you got to figure out what's the root of making you overthink. And usually I personally feel like it's somebody like in search of perfection or whatever it may be. And you really have to address the root of it first in order to get rid of the overthinking, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for me, I think now, thank goodness, I'm not going to also say I'm perfect because we're not, and we've already said that, but there's days that are better than others, but I feel like I have come such a long way from how I used to overthink certain things and like the things that I would like let rob me of my joy in the moment, that I've been practicing so much like gratitude and just doing like pouring so many things into myself to where I don't have these problems. I don't revert back to these things. So whether it's like, and I talk about this stuff on the show all the time, I journal my thoughts. So instead of being in my head about my thoughts, I always write them out. I'm a praying girl. I'm praying. I'm definitely meditating on things. And I just also just fuel myself with positive affirmations, whether it's listening to other podcasts that are positive or audiobooks that just continue to teach you like those lessons of how to be grateful or just how to be better in what it is that you do and just like positivity. Like I just always try to surround myself with things that are going to be positive because let's be honest, like some things may affect your day that may not be the best and you may have a bad day, but at least you still have those lessons that you're like practicing day in and day out to just help you have that confident mindset or that positive like mindset that you're trying to have.
Yeah. You know, one other thing too that I feel like will help declutter your mental this spring season is, like you said, kind of like getting rid of relationships that are making you overthink. Like, and here's what I say. Here's what I will say about that. I think people love to use buzzwords, right? And I think right now, the buzziest word of them all is setting boundaries. People are so obsessed with setting
I have another
boundaries.
protecting your peace.
Protecting your peace.
Yeah. Setting boundaries and protecting your peace has definitely been one of those words that we've been hearing for the past few years that I feel like people use all the time, on top of like, I'm no longer in toxic relationships or toxic experiences and things like, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, 5 years ago, we were not talking about these type of things. We were not.
And listen, as a society, we grow, we progress, and there's different issues we address, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like one thing, you know, in terms of like cleaning your mental clutter, is like, if you find yourself constantly having to set boundaries, there is another issue at hand that you have to address. I don't understand how we've gotten to this point where we feel like boundaries need to be set in every single aspect of our lives. And quite frankly, that just feels so exhausting in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, are y'all not standing on it the first time? Like, what is it that's making you feel like
stand up?
Yeah, like, what is it that's making people feel like they constantly have to set boundaries in their work life, their personal life, their friendships? To me, it's like, and I know this is like a hot take, but to me, it's like, if you find yourself constantly having to set boundaries, which also that's taking up a lot of mental capacity, because you're thinking about, okay, what did this person do, and how am I going to set this boundary? And you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that to me is how like setting boundaries and like your mental clog, whatever, go hand in hand, because you're thinking about like all these sorts of things and where people have crossed the line with you and whatever. And like, granted, there are some instances where people are crossing the line, right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like, let's be realistic about what those instances are, what they look like, and what that is doing for us mentally, constantly feeling like we're setting boundaries. Because in the moment, it's like, yeah, I set that boundary. But the reality is, how much work and mental capacity did it take for you to get there? Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Like, to me, if you are constantly on defense mode like that, that seems mentally and physically exhausting, in my opinion. And then at that point, you have to evaluate everything, and not just about setting boundaries, but like, you might got to let some people go, period. Because why do you constantly always feel like you have to set a boundary?
Yeah. You know? I agree with that. So I definitely think that a part of spring cleaning our mindset is letting go of relationships where we have to create all these chains of command to be able to get to the overarching goal. So I think that in general, and especially if you are a woman in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, I don't care how old you are. Let people believe you the first time. Don't give someone the second, third, and fourth time to believe what it is that you are trying to put, or what you're trying to stand on as it relates to you emotionally and in your mindset. So if someone does something wrong to you, it's up to you at the end of the day, but I feel like that first time should be it. Like, you shouldn't give anybody any other inch or yard to be able to try you again and again and again, because then it just says a lot about who you are as a person if you allow someone to dictate your peace and how you consistently stay in that level of peace. So I think that whenever someone's doing something wrong and you feel as though you need to set boundaries, just cut it off.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Mm-hmm. And I live by that. And guess what? I don't have to constantly set boundaries in my life. I don't have to constantly protect my peace, because the people that I have around me that I even let into my circle, I don't need to worry about those things with at all.
Yeah.
I ain't got it. That too much mental capacity for me.
Yeah, and one thing I always say is, if it is costing you your peace, it is too expensive. Time is something we don't get back, and it's precious, and it doesn't wait for anybody. So if you're sitting in life and you're just basking in the negative things that someone's doing to you, the one control you do have is to eliminate that. Mm-hmm. The one thing you can do is to say, I'm cutting this off for good. So spring cleaning your mentality is also about letting go of toxic relationships, and that could be family, that could be friends, that could be coworkers. If it's anything that is just interrupting you from being the best version of yourself and just living in peace at all times, then let it go. You should be able to like dictate who and what can be in your life that's going to offer value and just also create that safe space to uplift you. If it's not uplifting you and it's bringing you down, you don't need that weight, sis. Get it off of you. I
feel like if you can't be yourself emotionally and spiritually around like certain people, you don't feel like you're in a safe space, that's not the space for you. You definitely have to let that go.
And one thing I also want to touch on as it relates to your mental health and as far as spring cleaning, and I know a lot of men will not agree with this, but let that intuition keep talking to you, sis. That intuition is going to tell you everything you need to know every single time. It is something that I feel God has placed in us, and it's that little like voice of reason, that little angel inside of us that's telling you it's not right. It's that feeling, it's that sensation, it's that thing that's just telling your spirit that this thing that you're feeling is real. Like it didn't come from anywhere. So it's not that, I just feel like it's just your spiritual like sense just whispering to you like,
absolutely,
this is
we
what
are very
it is.
big on intuition on this couch.
Listen, Crystal
on
and
this
I,
couch,
you know what's so funny? We are big on
it.
intuition. Crystal and I went somewhere last week. We actually went to aerial yoga. We had a really great time, and then we went somewhere and like something happened and she looked at me and I looked at her and I didn't say anything, she didn't say anything to me, and we just kept walking. Like it was one of those things where it didn't even have to be said. It's just that is what your intuition, that is a part of like you just being in tune with yourself spiritually. So I feel like a part of that as it relates to relationships is if your intuition is telling you something about anybody in your life, and and sometimes it's a reoccurring feeling. Like it's gonna come to you. I've broken up a relationship with somebody before because of my intuition. Like I was in a relationship and it was first of all, it was long distance and I felt something and it didn't feel right. I feel like this person was telling me something and it didn't feel like it was the truth. And I was like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
And
why? Because it was costing you your peace. You were losing sleep at night and you said, I'm good.
I was also in college. I'm like, I got so many bills, man. I'm like,
that's my excuse for everything now.
I'm like, I don't want to be worried about this right now. I'm on a high, okay. I'm in college. Like, I'm not going to be worried about my little back home boyfriend that's doing God knows what. It's done. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, you're too funny. That's literally my excuse for everything now. Like, I just got so many bills. I don't want to go. I just got so many bills.
Yes. If you have not seen that TikTok, definitely. But even if it's not about bills, it relates to everything. Like you just got so much going on that you don't even want to be worried about that.
Right. No, but we are very big on intuition. I feel like you cannot ignore that voice because the more, like everything else that I say on this couch, you got to train your mentality. And if you train yourself to ignore your intuition, at some point, that little voice becomes a whisper and then it becomes like gone. And like then all of a sudden you ain't got no damn intuition, so I think it's very important but also don't be crazy. Take what we saying lightly. Like don't be absolutely ridiculous.
My intuition said.
Yeah, like come on. When something's off, when something's not off, and just go with the vibe, but like trust your gut.
Always.
It's always gonna tell you.
Your gut is gonna tell you every time. So we talked about overthinking and kind of getting rid of that. Relationships and if you have to set boundaries, you got to protect your peace, whatever it is that you got to do, and also just your intuition and all that. But let's talk about shedding dead weight.
If you've listened to the Elevators podcast for a while, you know how important acceptance is when it comes to personal growth. And you know who else is big on acceptance? Discover.
You see, Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. That's a whole lot of places and a whole lot of acceptance, which is great for Discover, but even better for you. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
When it comes to spring cleaning your mental health, shedding dead weight is big because a lot of the times we are going into so many different seasons in life and we're holding on to grudges and things that people didn't do for us and like the cards life dealt us, and we hold on to those things and we don't allow ourselves to get into the next dimension because we're still living in the past and not just getting rid of these things that are holding us down. Like it feels, you ever just go through something in life and it literally feels heavy on your chest. Like it just feels like ugh, like I can't get this thing off of me. And I think that the minute that we figure out what that thing is and we're able to release it, you feel so much lighter. You could just walk through life and just like your head's held high. You know what I'm saying? Like you standing firm on your voice. So I think a big part of cleaning out in general our life, our mental health, is getting rid of those grudges.
Let me be honest. Not that I'm a grudge holder, per se.
The Quarter Pounder with Cheese had many great things. Maple-flavored griddle cakes isn't one of them. McDonald's breakfast comes first. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The way you started that off, it just sounds guilty.
Full disclosure,
Guilty.
I know, guilty. You know what? I don't think I hold grudges, but one thing about me, I ain't never gonna forget. I'm never gonna forget. Maybe some people would see that as being like a grudge holder, and to me, to each his own. I personally don't feel like never forgetting something is holding on to a grudge.
It's not a bad thing though. It's like when you said someone fooled me once, shame on
Fool
me.
me twice, shame on me.
Right.
But I agree with you in the sense of like, I'm not gonna constantly carry that weight, because to me, there's a difference between holding a grudge and like carrying weight versus letting something go, but also not forgetting that situation. You get what I'm saying? So I just, full disclosure, hot take, let go of the grudge, but never let go of the memory.
That's a good
Two
one.
different things.
That's a different thing. Yeah. A grudge also, like, for clarification, I think a grudge is like if someone did something and they upset you, and it's like months and years go down the line and you see that person, you're still holding on to that same emotion. I think, to clarify what Crystal's saying, you're not holding on to the emotion, but you're holding on to the memory. So it's like if that person still walks in the room, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm upset. It's more of like, hey, how you doing? I didn't forget, but hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? It's like I'm remembering.
Oh, you say hey, okay.
No, you're like, I'm not even saying anything.
Hey.
But you know what I mean? Like you're not going to forget what they did, but you don't have to let. Also, another thing is, I try not to let people emotionally affect me in public and just in places where I feel like they know they have a hold on me. I'm going to still wave and smile and be like, nothing is bothering me, because it's not.
That's so you give it unbothered. I love that for you.
That's the energy I'm in this year and years to come, because why?
Yeah.
Also, holding grudges and being angry, that stuff ages you.
It does.
Scientifically, it's got to be a fact. Like, it ages you. It causes crow's feet. I don't need that. I don't want to have to do none of that Botox. I don't want to have to do it, because I'm not going to let y'all make my face look crazy.
So how does anybody know the difference between holding a grudge, in your opinion, versus never forgetting? Like, what's the thin line? Because I feel like there's a thin line between
There is.
actually holding a grudge and, like, not holding a grudge, but, like, never forgetting.
I think an example of that, because we've talked about this on the show too before, is, let's say, like lending money, right? Like you lend a friend a certain amount of money, and you might be angry at this person because they didn't give it to you in the timely fashion that you asked for it, because you were very open and freely to give it to them at that moment, right? So I think that's when you're upset. That's when the grudge comes into play, because you're like upset, right? But this is a friend, and I'm saying a friend or a family because these are sometimes people that you choose to be in your life, right? Or these are people that may not choose to be in your life, but they're in your life, right? So I think never forgetting is you letting go of the grudge and you're realizing, okay, I lent the money's gone, it's out. But then I think the never forgetting part is if that person asks you again, that you don't necessarily give it to them because you didn't forget, but you're not upset about it. Does that make sense?
So it's the emotion.
It's the emotion.
It's like
I think the difference is
if the memory creates an emotional reaction, or like an emotion,
that's the grudge.
Then that's the grudge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also think the grudge is something you hold on to and you don't let it go. I think a grudge is something that's because we're saying shedding dead weight. So it's something that you're like not releasing. Like a grudge is something that is a feeling that you have towards a person or a thing that you're holding on to it and it has not released you. Like I think never forgetting is you don't have that weight on you. You just have that memory inside. And that's it.
Well, I got a grudge right now, baby. I'm trying to let it go. That's why I asked.
What grudge you got?
Oh, we can talk about it off
Who
camera.
upsetting you?
I got a little grudge. No, not with us. It's just in like.
Oh, I know they with me. I'm like, what? We went to. One thing about it, we'll talk about it.
What's the deciding factor between a grudge and a memory?
It's the emotion.
It's the emotion.
It's the emotion. It's the emotion for sure.
Sometimes, you know, when you be telling a story and it still bothers you, I'm like, oh, that's a grudge. Okay, bet.
Oh,
I got
absolutely.
one. I got one right now. And I'm working on it.
Look, and I know we talk about the dead weight and all that, and I think that another thing is in relationships is finding individualism, and I think that's a part of dead weight is not having to necessarily like
or independence, like lean on, depend on. You can't move or you can't walk out your house if you don't get a confirmation on X, Y, and Z. It's that. Like, that's a big one. I agree very much. I think people don't realize how codependent they are in their friendships, in their relationships. Mm-hmm. And a sign of being extremely codependent is always seeking advice or confirmation. Mm-hmm. And again, a habit that you have to break and a mental exercise that you have to practice in order to get out of that habit. But even, especially like in relationships, like if you find yourself that you can't do absolutely anything without your significant other, like, you in a relation, like you in a, like, what is it, a crutch? Yes, a relational crutch. Yeah, a relationship crutch. And you have to be careful with that because you could end up losing yourself in those situations. All the time. Very easily. I just had this conversation with somebody a couple of days ago, and we were just talking generally about, like, sometimes as women we struggle with that because we will get up under our man and not come out for a year and then pop back out like, hey, I'm just trying to get my groove back. And not because the relationship failed, but just because you realize, oh, damn, like. Yeah. And that's something that I feel you on, and I'm practicing it, and I'm trying to practice it. And I don't know what it is. And ladies, please tap in on the comments. Please tap in on everywhere you are listening and watching this, because I think so many of us struggle with this is when we're in relationships with our significant other, our partner, sometimes you lose a little bit of yourself. And I want us to stop doing that. I want us to stop losing a part of who we are to be able to adapt and connect with someone else. I think that a lot of us go into relationships, we're career driven and we're goal driven and we have all these things, and then you go and you eating at all these dinners and you gain a little bit more weight and you having fun and you just relaxing, you're chilling, you're letting your hair down, and then months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months down the line goes and you're like, what happened to that goal that I said I was going to put out 6 months ago? What happened to that thing I said I was going to do? Because you're wrapped up on somebody else. And don't get it twisted. That man is going to do what he got to do. That woman is going to do what she has to do, you know, depending on what relationship you're in and how it looks. But I feel like a lot of the times, a lot of us fall victim to that is we get into these new experiences and new relationships and we lose a little bit. Like, we lose a little bit of ourselves. No, we do. And honestly, we all do it. So be real about it. Like, ain't no shade. There's absolutely nothing wrong with falling victim to being a lover girl or a lover boy. None. But if you feel like you are losing yourself, you know, just get back into the things that you used to enjoy doing. And there's this couple that I know who they literally, so they're married and they have a ritual that I think by week they do like their own solo dates. And I'm like, I love that. That's so healthy. And of course they're our age and our age group. And I think that we believe in different things and like different practices to make healthy relationships last. So like, I love to see that they're doing that because I'm like, oh, this stuff does work. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is, it's not a newfound like practice, but it is a new practice in like this generation that we're actually implementing, I would say. So it's very nice to see that it's working out for them and they're like this young couple, and I'm like, that's beautiful, that's inspiring. Yeah. And so that's why people you do that for yourself. Yeah, and I feel like that we have to remember the reason why our significant other, our partner, wanted to be with us in the first place. And it was because you were doing all those things you were doing prior to being in that relationship. So don't lose that. Don't lose you and continue to do those things that's going to feed into you. And I always say this too, like, God forbid, I mean, reality is things sometimes don't last forever. And if you don't have this thing that's going to work for the long haul, when it's said and done, what did you have for yourself? What do you still have for yourself to walk away from? So don't ever give up on your dreams, your goals, or the things that make you happy. I don't care if it's going to get a new coffee and try a new coffee at a coffee shop once a week. Whatever that thing is, do it. Yeah, I agree. Unapologetically. Yeah, for real. And another like part of spring cleaning my mentality this year, especially for me, is decluttering my social media habits. Like, And a couple, like me 2 years ago, I'm like, why do people take social media so serious? But like, again, if I have a 100% brain capacity, social media takes about 10% of it, or whatever the case may be, and I need to make sure that 10% is squeaky clean, because I just can't be consuming everything. So that for me looks like unfollowing people and pages whose content, I wouldn't say don't serve me, because I think that's super like self-centered and like take. But I think just that I just don't enjoy like the content. Like I don't want to consume that sort of content. So for me, that looks like unfollowing people and pages that I no longer just want to consume. And it's not personal, but I just don't want to consume that content on my timeline.
I agree. I think a lot of spring cleaning our mental health is definitely cleaning our online and digital space. And like you talk about this all the time, we have tabs in our mind. And I think that, unconsciously the things that we consume live in our minds rent free sometimes. Sometimes you might have a dream and you'd be like, where did this come from? It's something that you might have seen or watched. And I think I've been big on this too. I've been unfollowing a lot of pages too. It's funny. I had done this before, and I thought it was funny because I unfollowed someone that I went to high school with. And granted, high school for me was over 10 years ago. And
damn. No, I'm just kidding.
It was for you too, girl.
I know, I'm just kidding.
So anyways, high school was over 10 years ago, right? And I'm like, I'm following this person. I haven't talked to this person since the 10 years. Like when we were in school, we have nothing in common, no shade, always gonna be love. But like for me, I'm gonna be honest, social media is a business. I look at it in a business stance for me. It is social, yes, because I love connecting and tapping into people I love and seeing what they have going on and the amazing things that they're doing. But I also use my platform as an entrepreneur, but also as a professional. So if I'm following somebody whose page is, like you said, isn't serving me, or like the content is not something that I'm like, it's inspiring to me, and it's not to say anything on a negative sense, it's just that I was in that space in that season. I may not be in that season right now. I've been following so many pages these days. And that's from the gossip pages. Not to say that sometimes we don't like a little tea, but I don't need to follow it. You know what I mean? I don't need to follow things that I feel like are no longer inspiring or serving me in that moment. And quite frankly, that's just what it is. That's what it is.
You know what? Forget it.
No, say it.
Nope.
Now you have to say it. That's my pet peeve. When someone's like, I gotta say, never mind.
No.
I gotta tell you something.
It don't even matter. It don't. Because it's not,
you know what? You gonna tell me off camera? Or you gonna tell me on camera?
No, you know what I was gonna say?
When the mics are on and the cameras are on.
No, I know, full transparency. Okay. I was gonna say, not only decluttering your timeline and stuff like that, but let's take the whole step. If you're gonna do that, take the whole step. Delete that fake page.
Some people are not doing that.
That's why I said,
some people aren't doing that. I say you taking it far. Like, you taking it too far. You taking it far. That's
I'm gonna delete everything else from our regular page, but not my fake page.
Yeah, that's where you draw the line.
I'm dead.
Why do we even have these things to begin with? Is the funniest part about it. But no, for sure, I think decluttering our online space matters. Not even on a social media standpoint. Clean out that inbox. If that inbox says you have over 500 unread emails, clean it up, okay? That needs to be clean. You need to unsubscribe from some emails. Let it go. That
drives me crazy.
I have inbox anxiety. I have to make sure that I'm cleaning my inbox like on a weekly basis.
I thought it was just me.
No.
I can't have more than 5 emails unread in my inbox. I'm not being dramatic. More than 5 stresses me out. I'm like, why am I so behind? Why haven't I checked this? I am falling failure to life. Like, it stresses me out so bad. And right now, I'm kind of like trying to become comfortable with it, especially like given like how busy business has been. But I'm like, I'm trying to get comfortable right now with 15 unread emails, and even that feels like suffocating to me.
Yeah. Do you have like different email addresses for different things? I know I do. I have like so many different emails. I have an email that's like literally for junk emails, like for like anything that I'm like appointments or anything that I'm like those emails go over here. I have my professional email. I have 2 professional emails, and I have like my business's emails. We have our email. Like I have so many, and I have all those inboxes.
I got so many emails.
I got so many emails, man. But no, clean out. Online space is also clean out. Not only your social media, it's also your inbox. You also might be missing some deals. You might be missing some opportunities. You might be, as a content creator, somebody might be emailing you about an event.
Check your spam.
Check your spam folder. Check all of that.
I agree. So you are very spiritual. Talk to me about spring cleaning for your spirituality. Like, what does that look like for the spiritual girlies who are listening?
Yeah, so I definitely feel like spring cleaning your mentality also means you having a spiritual cleanse. And for me, a lot of that looks like sometimes starting over. Like, you know, I think that as a Christian girl, as a spiritual girly, you can't kind of go in every season the same way. Like, I think that sometimes you need to operate from different spaces to fuel you in a spiritual sense. So for me, that may look like, of course, I do the regulars, like the journaling, and it's not regular, it's definitely beyond regular, but you know, the journaling, the meditating, the listening to some gospel music, the uplifting music. But lately, what I've been doing is I've been paying a lot of attention to how I set the tone for the day, right? So I'm not like picking up my phone to see what's happening. I'm opening the Bible app. I am on a Bible app streak. If you have a Bible app, if you're a Bible app girly, definitely tap in, follow me, all of that. But I'm on a streak. So there's like a streak you can do where it tells you how many days you've opened the app and how many days you've been in the app. And there's been times where I've done the streak and I'm like, okay, yes, I was 7 days strong. And then the minute I didn't do it, I felt defeated. So for me, I'm like, let me just make it like an unconscious, like, mental habit that when I pick up my phone, the first thing I'm doing is I'm giving grace and just grateful for the day, but I'm opening the app and looking at whatever the verse of the day is or whatever the message of the day is. And then I'm on YouTube. I'm trying to learn something. I'm listening to, you know, all of the, like, the people who are, like, you know, having these affirmations, whether it's Darius Daniels, whether it's Myron, or whether it's, like, just different people that are gonna just fuel me mentally to be in that headspace, be like, okay, let's go, let's conquer the day. So I'm always tapping into stuff like that. And just honestly, I'm in group chats with like my best friends, and we'll send each other Bible verses for the month or Bible verses for the week, and just things that we can just tap into. So I'm always surrounding myself also with like-minded women and people who, you know, can just also feed into that, and me do the same for them. Whether it's like sending a positive affirmation to somebody. And I think we should all practice that. I actually want to do that this week. I think we should all do that. Like, if you see something that's inspiring or that you gravitate towards, text it to like 3 people. You know what I mean? Like, send it to somebody. Or if you just think of something about someone in a positive sense, share it with them. Like, oh my God, girl, you shared this. Like I told you earlier, like, you shared a sermon that was super inspiring. Let people know that. Like, tell people how you feel, because a lot of the times how we're feeding our spirituality is also how we pour into other people. It's not always about the information that we're receiving on our own. So I think that that's something that I want to do more of, is like feeding into other people, because you also don't know in the season how many people may need it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love our podcast and what we're doing, because we are fueling it for ourselves and our friends that support us, but there's a community of so many of you that I feel like, and it always gets me so emotional when we see the comments, we see the positive things that you guys write, where it's like, oh yes, it helps somebody in some way. And that's what I think, mentally being in a great space spiritually when it comes to spring cleaning, that's something I feel like we should all take.
I love that. I think for me, this spring season is, to your point, more just like tapping in consistently with my spirituality and my beliefs, because, you know, life be lifing. And I think for the last like 5 or 6 years, I haven't been as strong about it, and or as out loud about it, I should say. Mentally, I feel like, you know, silently in my own bed, like, you know, I have always had those conversations with who I believe in, right? But I am becoming more out loud about it, and the way I used to be, I should say. And you kind of touched on this before, but like for me, you know, sharing the sermon that I did on social media was like, I felt this, I know somebody else needs to hear
I bet some
this,
people probably tapped in and said they loved it, huh?
Yes. I had a lot of shares. I said, okay,
Yes.
like y'all like this the way I like this.
Yes.
And I'm so self-centered because side note. So what I shared when I shared it, I also shared like the link to the
sermon.
church's like sermon or whatever. And then this week when I watched it, because that was like 1 week or 2 weeks ago, and then this week when I watched it, the pastor was like, "Yeah, we got over 400 subscriptions." I said, "Yeah, that was me." Meanwhile, probably not. I'm so annoying.
No, but when you shared it, I was listening to it. I was like, dang, I want to go back and watch it. And literally the next frame was the link, and I clicked on it. And that's the thing.
You never know who needed to hear that.
You never know. And I think that the power, and I think of influencing as influencers or people who, are in this digital content space, one of our superpowers is to uplift and inspire other people. You know what I mean? It's not always about selling something.
And to share.
But it's to share those things because it helps people. And I was like, oh my God, I was listening. So I was like, now I want to go back and watch it. I didn't even know he was in New York. I was like, now I might want to go attend, or, now I want to, because that's the stuff that I feel like those are the ingredients that make us a better person. To be able to do what we do day in and day out is having that spiritual cleanse. Because I also feel like when you're operating from a space of, you are so whole spiritually, the produce and the fruits that you give based on those things are like the most purest form, because it's like, I know where this came from is a good space. I'm not producing from a space of lack. It's like I'm producing from a space of, like abundance. So I love that.
And you mentioned this earlier. I think it's time. We are creeping up on a year of podcasting consistently. Can I get a round of applause from our live audience here?
Yes! Shout out to LaVenture Agency, Ray, who has been holding it down with us. I'm proud of us. Been over 30 episodes.
30 episodes, a year of consistency, y'all. Consistency.
That was one of my words for this year too, by the way.
What?
Consistency was one of my words for the year.
Period. And look at that.
And we've
look
been
at
consistent.
Us. And look at us talking about spring cleaning and just being organized and all that good stuff. But I say that to say, A, I'm super proud of us. But B, I think it's time we start taking some calls on this podcast and hearing from our community and engaging with our community a little more. So I'm going to say this right now. Amanda and I are going to build a website and get a telephone number. We are. I think it's time. I think we need to do it. I think
maybe even some. Now that we're in our 30s.
Yes, absolutely. Now that we're in our 30s, merch.
Hurry up before I get out of the 30s.
Girl, you got a long time back.
I know.
But I think it's time that we start just hearing from our community much more.
I agree.
So hopefully in the next week or two, maybe before our birthdays, we can get it set up and start taking, some questions, comments, and concerns.
Caller number 9.
Shut up. You're irritating. From our listeners. But yeah, I think it's time, girl.
I do. I would love that. So we love the support, and definitely tap in, share. And also, if there's some people that you would love to see on the show, I know we bring guests on the show, but we would love to know people that you would be inspired to. We have an email on our page. Definitely tap in with us. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited for what's to come. Maybe even some events here in Miami or something. Celebrate our 1 year, or just to celebrate the things that we've been doing, and just to elevate and come together. I love when we have Go to Fortune and Forks events for Crystal and Naomi's company here in Miami, and definitely follow them because they do so much in LA, Atlanta, all in New York, all these different cities. But when we go to those events and I'm surrounded by other women, it's just so uplifting that I love that, we're also kind of creating that community here, and would love to see if we could tap in with y'all in that space. But this has been fun. I'm excited. I'm excited for the calls and the things that we're working on.
It's gonna be good, girl. So that being said, make sure you guys are doing some spring cleaning on your mentality. Hit us in the comments. Let us know what you're doing to clear out the clutter in your brain, because I can use some advice too. Y'all heard me. I'm holding on to grudges over here a little bit.
I want to find out about that grudge.
We gonna talk about it. But we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Declutter, overthinking, reevaluate relationships, let go of dead weight, and do some spiritual cleansing this season. And we hope this episode helped.
That's right. Going into Q2 with a bang. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, y'all, bye.